All right, so unless you have been living under a rock, I know you've at least heard a little bit about the exchange between MTG and Jasmine Crockett, who is a representative from Texas. MTG is unfortunately from Georgia, where I am from. But to recap, they were in a meeting, and Marjorie was doing what she does best, which is be inflammatory, asking dumb questions that have nothing to do with why they were there because she's an unserious person. And the Dems were not having it, especially since the Republicans were um earlier they decided to go to New York and parade around to impress Trump rather than being back in Washington doing their job. Now, MTG did not go either because she wasn't invited, which was probably it, because there's nothing that she likes more than a show. But it was also because they did that little stunt, it was late at night. And what she did was, Jasmine asked her, do you know why we're here? Like, what does that have to do with what we're here for? Which was something dumb. They're again trying to hold someone in contempt or impeach or just something crazy. Just something that's not going to benefit the American people at all. And so you see this part, she is when she's doing that little gesture, she is saying to Jasmine, well, maybe your eyelashes are keeping you from reading what it is, um, from reading something. And so at that point, AOC interjects and becomes upset. And she wants the words taken down. Not only does she want the words taken down, but she also wants Marjorie to have to apologize, which of course she refuses to do. And then she tries to bait AOC by telling AOC, "Well, why don't you debate me?" And she's just like, "No." And she wants to know why. She's like, "It should be obvious, why I don't want to debate you." And then she tells AOC that she's not intelligent. Okay? So that's two insults that she's already done. So they're going through the process and they're trying to get her words taken down. And then there's a process where she would be removed for the rest of the meeting. But they decided, of course, that they weren't going to do all of that. So, after that, then Jasmine decides that she wants to get clarification on something. She's like, okay, well, if that is the way that you guys are going to be, then I want clarification on what can and cannot be said, essentially. She's going to ask for clarification on this. Okay. So she's like, okay, well, okay. And that's the part I love. Oh, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. Then someone wants to interject when Jasmine then comes back at her. Then all of a sudden, people want to eject, and then it goes a little bit further than that. And that's exactly right. Then there's a problem. This is what they do. And this aggravates me so bad when people do this. They start things, and then when you come back at them, then all of a sudden they're the victim. Calm down, calm down. No, you weren't telling MTG to calm down. You've never told her to calm down when she's going off on witnesses being rude and nasty and just saying the most insulting things. She doesn't have to calm down. But because she's insulted two members, they're coming back. Well, Jasmine is coming back on her. Now all of a sudden it's a problem, and now all of a sudden you want her to calm down. I don't think so. The media, here comes everyone calling Jasmine ghetto and blaming her in her response, or either that or they want to both sides the issue without um, assigning blame where it should be, which is on Marjorie Taylor Greene for wasting everybody's time and being her normal, rude, ridiculous self. But here's the problem with what the other side is trying to do when it comes to Jasmine. In the past, they have been able to effectively push this narrative because although it's always been BS and hypocritical, but they were always on the same page and always spoke as one when it came to morality issues. But then they fell in love with someone who is just vile, rude, and ridiculous. And they go about defending him at every turn. Every turn. Everything they say, everything he says, they think it is amazing. They go to New York to defend him and his right to defend himself per the gag order. They don't want him to have a gag order because he needs to be able to defend himself against his critics, so they say, including the witnesses, one of whom he calls horseface. They have no problem with that. They have no problem with him calling horseface. They have no problem with the things that he says about. They have no problem with what he says at his rallies, everything. But then when Jasmine Crockett hits back after a time, mind you, like she said on an interview earlier today, she did not immediately clap back at MTG when she said what she said. But, because she went on to call her, beach blonde, bad built, butch body. Oh, now everybody wants to clutch their pearls and this decorum. And how can you say this? Well, the person that you want to be the leader of your party and the leader of the free world says worse all the time. And you have absolutely no problem with it. 45 is forever blowing up narratives for them. They are always twisting themselves into pretzels, trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth. Because he always just comes through and just blows up their narrative. And there's nothing that they can do about it. So, so it's kind of hard to berate your colleagues when you just miss a whole day of work and go to support a man who is on trial for campaign violation involving him paying money to an adult film actress that he had relations with unprotected while his wife was home with her then young son. So they have no right to say the things that they're saying. So how exactly does that work? In their quest to defend any and everything this man does, they have to try to vilify Jasmine for defending herself. But whenever 45 says something, their favorite line is that he's a fighter and that if you punch him, he's going to punch back 10 times harder. Well, you know what they say, what's good for the goose, it's also good for the gander. And this reminds me, I always like to bring things back to things that I've read, or things that I've come across. I don't know if you've read The Other Black Girl, but in The Other Black Girl, there is a scene where she is trying to figure out how she is going to disagree with the people that are around her without coming across as the angry black woman. You have to think so much about the things that you say and the way that you say it. And it was a conundrum for her because the situation she found herself in, she felt it was disrespectful. But she still felt that she could not just come out of the gate the way that she wanted to because you don't want to get painted a certain types of way. And this interaction, both with AOC and with Jasmine, kind of reminds me of that. And it shows what, women of color have to go through when they are speaking out in public. You saw AOC, if you see the video, she's flustered and very just passionate about it. And she's trying to be level-headed and she's trying not to, come across a certain way, or maybe that's just how she is. And then Jasmine just comes out the gate. And we need to see more of what Jasmine is doing. Unfortunately, we have to have like both, we have to have like a little bit of balance or else they're going to do it anyway. As you can see, they're going to do it anyway. No matter what you say or how you say it, they're going to do it anyway. So you might as well just come on out and say things the way that you want to say them and let the chips fall with may, because it does not do to be polite when it comes to the political climate that we're in since 45 came on the scene. They take politeness and they take decorum and they take all of that for weakness. So, because as you can see in the little clip, before she got told about her bad build, she was feeling herself. She was even taunting AOC, like, "Oh, did I hurt your feelings?" Or she just knew that she was going to have sound bites to go on, these right-wing shows, and they're going to prop her up and pat her on her back, and she's just going to be the hero because she dissed, because she said something derogatory about Jasmine's lashes and thought that they were going to have a good old time about it, but then she got, she messed around and found out that it wasn't going to be the way that she thought it was going to be. So, I'm glad of this, and we need to see more of this. We need to see more fight when it comes to the Democratic side. And in Black women, I saw a clip today. We have a right to be angry, and we have a right to defend ourselves, and we have a right to come back at you without always having to be polite about it, without always having to worry about how we sound and you're going to twist it, because quite frankly, they're going to find a way to do it anyway. They can't wait to call us ghetto, and they can't wait to call us all the other kind of things. So if you're upset, then be upset. If they have a problem with it, then they just have a problem with it. All right? Thank you so much for listening. If you want to know, I did a review of The Other Black Girl. I will list it down below. So if you haven't read that book, or if you have, go ahead and comment on what you thought of it. I thought it was a pretty good book. I was a little bit I don't know how I feel about the ending of it, but it was a pretty good book. All right. Thank you so much for stopping by. Talk to you later.